Leading our show tonight is someone who knows firsthand the importance of SNAP benefits. Connecticut Democratic Congresswoman Johanna Hayes. She's on the House Agriculture Committee, and she was once a recipient of the very benefits that are at risk of lapsing for 42 million Americans. Now, every time, Congresswoman, I hear that figure, I wonder if people are shocked. The breadth of food insecurity in this country, but also the breadth of the dilemma right now. You heard the White House saying they're not going to use any extra cash to fund SNAP benefits. We know that the troops are going to have money to be paid. Some of them also food insecure, by the way.
Yes.
Why is it so different for those recipients of SNAP?
Well, it should shock the conscience for everyone who is hearing this. And let's be crystal clear about this. This is a policy choice because the president has the authority with no additional acts of Congress to release these multi-year contingency funds that are available and transfer using all legal authority any additional funds that are necessary. You were great in the lead up, your point that the president didn't come back to us, to Congress, for money to send either 20 or 40 billion dollars to Argentina, no matter how you look at it. This is a policy choice, and it's something that can be remedied in this moment without any additional acts of Congress. But I'm not surprised. To your point, every time we have had to negotiate, whether it was the Farm Bill or the debt ceiling increase or even future budgets, SNAP was something that was always a leverage point for the Republicans in the Congress. It's a program they always wanted to cut. So I'm not surprised that the president does not want to release these funds, that the USDA Secretary Rollins doesn't want to do that. When this administration just put forth a bill in July, the one big beautiful bill that was voted out, that cut SNAP, the largest cut in history, by $178 billion, increased work requirements, put additional burdens on the state, all of those things that they've been trying to attack for as long as I've been in Congress. I asked for this committee on purpose, not only because I was a SNAP recipient, but because I was a classroom teacher. And my other committee is the Committee of Education and Workforce. Nothing I do on that committee matters if kids come to school hungry. If they don't have full bellies, they are not learning. Hungry kids don't learn. In this country, we have the ability to feed children. 39% of children are the recipients of the benefits in this program, and this is something that we can do. So I reject the notion that Democrats are holding this up. This administration has bragged for the last 10 months about what they can do without congressional authority. They have showed us time and time again the policies that they're willing to enact without any bipartisan support. This is a policy choice. And unlike some of the other, you mentioned paying the troops or even the bailout to Argentina, unlike having to look for that money, the money for this is already there.
Well, you know, and I'm so glad you mentioned school children, because during the pandemic in particular, Republicans and Democrats alike were talking about wanting to continue funding, even though kids were out of school. They knew the importance of meals, not only breakfast, but also lunch, and even providing for the parents at local bus stops to bring them food as well. I remember as well watching that. But there is at least one Republican who wants to continue to fund this through the shutdown. That's Senator Josh Hawley. Senator Peter Welch also wants to sign on that. Would you support that? I would assume you would, wanting to do so. But there's this tension, obviously, of the leverage and the trade-off.
This isn't about leverage for me. And I also question that when you mention senators who want to fund this, because again, in just July, those same senators took a bill to literally cut SNAP by $178 billion.
So you don't trust that?
I don't trust it. There is absolutely a trust deficit. And what I've learned in Congress, just by virtue of what you just said, is that we have the capacity to make these changes. What we lack is the will. I saw us during COVID, us members of Congress, stand up summer EBT, stand up relief for families who were in need in that moment to address what was pressing right then. So this idea of, I mean, for me personally, even though this is the issue that is probably most near and dear to me, I don't trust my Republican colleagues to say, let us do this today and then next week we can go back to the table and negotiate. Because I've seen too many times where negotiated agreements or funds are redirected and sent somewhere else. I've seen where we think we have a deal on the table, and in the 11th hour, that deal changes. I saw that with the Farm Bill that addresses SNAP benefits.
Yeah.
So this is not something, this is not a countdown that started on October 1st and will expire on November 1st. This is something, for my 7 years in Congress, I've seen SNAP literally attacked in every negotiation.
So what
this
do you tell
is a
your
choice.
Constituents? I mean, obviously, people watching the news, that's how most people get their information, because agencies aren't telling them when they're coming back or anything like that. They're hearing it's about medical and Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. SNAP is now also on the chopping block as of this coming Saturday. What do you tell your constituents who are saying to themselves, look, Congresswoman, I realize it's a trust issue. I know this is happening. I cannot feed my children. What do you tell them?
I tell them the truth. I try to explain to my constituents what is going on. This isn't just about one thing. It's not just about Affordable Care Act subsidies. We are negotiating, and actually we're not even negotiating because the Republicans haven't come back to Washington to sit down and have a conversation with us. But we are talking about all of these things at the same time. So it's not just Affordable Care Act subsidies. It's SNAP benefits. It's the firing of federal employees. It's all of these things. And what I really try to explain to people is that even if we took a vote tomorrow, much of the damage is done. So at some point, Democrats have to say enough. If we took a vote tomorrow, the 200,000 federal workers are not going to be brought back to work or reinstated. You know, the
Some would receive back pay that might mitigate.
They should receive back pay anyway, because in 2019, President Trump signed a bill that said furloughed employees would receive back pay. So now the fact that this administration is trying to redefine that bill or say it means something else is yet another example of the fact that they cannot be trusted. If state governments could have assurance from the president that they would even get reimbursed when the government would open up. So there's so many examples that I can go down the line of why this administration cannot be trusted. When someone tells you who they are, shows you who they are, believe them.
Well,
and they've showed us over and over.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
one of your colleagues, Jared Golden, who's from Maine, he says that the party's position, your own party position, on the shutdown is, quote, wrong. He criticized the decision to make the Obamacare subsidies temporary, adding, quote, I'm just uncomfortable lying about the strategy to win and shutting down the government. We've never been the party that does that. What do you say to his suggestion that that is the motivation, winning?
We're still not the party who does it. The Republicans have the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. So I refuse to accept the notion that Democrats are responsible when we're in the majority and the minority. When you get leadership positions, when Mike Johnson sought the position of leadership, you have to lead at some point. You have to shape the narrative. You have to direct the negotiations. So you can't say that Democrats are responsible when we're in the majority and the minority. I came in a government shutdown. In 2019, I was sworn in with 88 other people, including Congressman Golden, in the middle of a government shutdown, and we got to work on day one to reopen the government, meeting in committees, meeting in caucus. Republicans were there, and now there's nothing. Democrats have been showing up for every week for the last 3 weeks, and Republicans are nowhere to be found. I'm willing to negotiate. I'm willing to go back to the table and work on whatever we can, but I have to tell you, Laura, feeding children is a hard line for me. It's the reason I voted no to this bill when it came up as a continuing resolution. It's the reason I voted against the debt ceiling, because I knew what was on the horizon. They've been trying to chip away and cut away at SNAP every single time. These are children. These are children. We could be back in committee right now talking about ways to work around, what we do to save this program, trying to work with the president to release those contingency funds. You can't negotiate in an empty room or by yourself. So this idea that Democrats are responsible for this, Democrats are not in charge. If you want to relinquish your obligation to work at this, give us the gavels. We'll take it from here. I can assure you that on my committee, on the nutrition subcommittee, we would come up with something that feeds hungry children in this country.
Congresswoman, I hear you, and so does America. We'll see what happens.
Thank you, Laura.
Congresswoman Jahana Hayes, thank you.
Thank you.